I always say I don't have a problem with disagreement. I don't have a problem with someone thinking something differently than I do. But what I would like to see when people, at least, by virtue of writing comments, appear to be trying to engage in a dialogue is a discussion where people can actually look at what someone else is saying or writing in totality and respond to it accordingly. I did a video about commission-based jobs where I, ranted about them. I talked about how I've been employed now by two different jobs that were having to do with sales. One of them wanted me to canvas, which I didn't feel comfortable doing at night. I thought the hours of 9 to 8 were ridiculous. And with the second one, which was commission based, I thought it was insane that someone would expect me to pay hundreds of dollars for suits before I've even received one check, which I wasn't going to get for 3 weeks of working there. So I'm just laying out some of the stuff that was mentioned in the video that has been talked about before. That this guy, the amazing, what is it? Sleep is the cousin of death, decided to ignore for the sake of peddling his defense for these companies that are not going to financially compensate him for writing this stuff. The first comment he wrote is, "So you mean sales? You're not good at sales. That's fine. Most people aren't, but it's not the employer's fault. If you can't sell, you can't work for sales. If you can't make sales, you can't get paid. Why would you get paid for making no sales?" Now, going back to what I said during the video and what can be inferred from watching the video, I was not fired for not making sales. I was not fired, period. I quit these jobs for different reasons in both cases, but with both of them, I left so early that there's really not what I would consider an objective metric to accuse me of not being good at sales. The first one, I left before I even was sent out to canvas for 8 hours. And the second one, I left after a few days of being out in the field, but without yet being qualified to actually make sales. They have this thing where you have to be entered into a system and then approved, and then you can use this app to make sure that the people who you're selling things towards are able to qualify. So what I'm getting at is he's in his comment trying to say that I am a terrible salesman, I'm bad, I'm awful, but there's no actual metric to base this off of. I was not terminated or gotten rid of, period, but I especially was not gotten rid of over not being able to sell. Why would you get paid for making no sales? That's why I related the fact that the manager I spoke with at the first sales job talked about how they're able to pay people. First of all, let's just kill this. Whatever they make in sales, as a company that does not produce things, they are a third party that facilitates the promotion of other companies' products, more than covers what they pay their employees. So if someone sits out there, for example, and for a week only sells two of something, unless all the employees, right, because it's not just one employee going out and selling, it's usually several, unless all of them are just hitting these really low numbers, they're going to be able to pay the employees what they would make hourly, because they're not having to pay out such large amounts of money to create more products, to manufacture, just the various costs that go with a lot of other places like the restaurant that's going to get mentioned later on here. This is my favorite of his three comments, actually, right? Complaining about selling in the sun is crazy. Try roofing, snow plowing, trucking. You aren't doing anything physical in sales. Okay, so in my video, I specifically complained about selling in the sun while wearing certain attire. So I have no issue selling when it's 60 degrees outside, 70, 80, 90, 100. What I took an issue with, and this goes back to that dress code nonsense, is that this second employer wanted me to wear a suit while selling. And the suit is the dress shirt, long sleeve dress shirt, by the way, along with the blazer, I guess you call it the coat, the dress shoes, dress pants. And I said to the guy, I was like, wait a second, you want us to go out wearing suits while it's 90 or 100 degrees? And his response to that was, "Oh, you can roll your sleeves up." And of course, I in my mind was like, "Why do I have to wear something long sleeve if it's so goddamn hot outside?" But I'm just explaining that the issue again is not going out and selling things in the sun. It is what you're allowed to wear while going out and selling things in the sun. And where he says you aren't doing anything physical in sales, well, I don't know. I think when you're working somewhere and you're having to knock on 80 to 100 doors, Monday through Friday and possibly Saturday. I forget how many they wanted for Saturday. I think it was a lower number. But if you're knocking on roughly anywhere from 400 to 500 doors every single week, I think you are doing something physical. Is it not physical to get up and go across an entire neighborhood doing this for hours on end? That's not physical. There's nothing physical about that, really. Um, Also, and this is just my opinion. I think any job that you do for 8 hours can be tiring. When people are sitting at desk and typing stuff all day, they can get tired. When people are driving around all day, they can get tired. I think it's really sad that when someone complains of either their working conditions or just an overall fatigue that would naturally set in from working for most of a day, you have this faceless guy who's like, "You think your job is hard? Try this other job or this other job or this other job." It's like, well, no one is saying these other jobs are not also taxing or, involving, I guess, poor weather conditions or physical strain. But I think there is some legitimacy to the idea that when someone is knocking on 80 to 100 doors a day, or hell, chasing and running down the street to go and sell things to people that are coming down, there's some physicality to that as well. But whatever. I know these guys, they don't like to ever see anything from anyone else's perspective. If you work at a restaurant that doesn't get customers, the owners will stop business. During COVID, before lockdowns even happened, people were too scared to eat out. We closed the restaurant permanently. Yeah, the employees got paid for their time there when no one appeared, but what did us employers, I think he means employers. Yeah, the employers got paid for their time there when no customers appeared, but what did us employees get in return? No job. I'll ask one question. Would you hire and pay someone every day who couldn't make sales? Genuinely, if you ran a business and somebody couldn't sell or barely meets quotas, do you want to pay them more than they make you? I don't really know what the point of the whole restaurant comparison is. Like, I'm of course aware that when these restaurants start going out of business, or rather pricing themselves out of the market, generally speaking, they tend to follow a similar trend of laying off people, and then having less employees, so they can like stave off the cost of having to pay more people until eventually closing everything down altogether. But I don't know how that relates to sales. I guess he's responding to the part where I said that if you're working at a restaurant, you don't have to worry about meeting a quota, which is true. I mean, you don't, but I don't really get where. And it's like, okay, you're taking the side of employers, but then you're also mentioning where employees were getting fired for people not like being too scared to go in during the lockdown. So like, I don't understand. Are you in this instance being sympathetic to the employees? Are you saying that they should have gone out and convinced people to come to their place and buy stuff? It is just all over the place with this guy. But where he says, I'll ask one question. Would you hire and pay someone every day who couldn't make sales? Genuinely, if you ran a business and someone couldn't sell or barely meets quotas, do you want to pay them more than they make you? Well, that's kind of disingenuous. I mean, how would you know? Like when he says, again, would you hire and pay someone every day who can't make sales? How would you know they're not going to make you sales when you hire them? Do you have like a crystal ball that lets you see into the future? If I hire this person, they will only make 3 sales a day for a month. How would you even be able to determine if they're going to make you sales before you hire them? But I should also say that once again, the way that these different sales jobs over here have worked is that they're not at risk of losing much money because they tend to send out several people. It could be 5, 6, 7, whatever, to various locations who are there all day. and whatever amount of money that they collectively make from the selling of their applications or various other trinkets, more than makes up for what they're having to pay their employees. This is not, that's why the restaurant comparison was so goofy to me, because at least at a restaurant, they have the excuse of, we need to pay for more, different types of foods that we sell, the equipment that we use to make this stuff. With these different sales jobs, they're not creating the stuff that they're selling. They're a third-party entity whose main position is doing direct marketing. So even if someone was only selling 2 or 3 of something every day for a week, it still would not cost any of these companies the amount it would for them to put up an ad that runs all year. It's just it is it's so disingenuous, man. But I guess what I just want to leave at the end of this is that, again, I don't have an issue with people disagreeing so long as they can actually respond to what I'm saying. I was not able to actually sell anything yet at the time I quit working at either one of these places, so I don't think it is fair to me to say you're bad at selling. As I mentioned before, I quit the first place because I was personally uncomfortable knocking on doors after dark. I thought working from 9 to 8 o'clock at night all week long was absolutely ridiculous. And the other one, I quit there because you're going to try to get someone to spend hundreds of dollars for different clothing or attire that you want them to wear before they've even received one check from working there. I couldn't wrap my mind around it, and I said I'm not going to make that type of investment in a company that can terminate me anytime they want. And this is just my last thing to this guy. If I'm such a bad employee, and the employers are, they're to blame for nothing. If that dynamic is true, why are they so desperate to hire somebody? I was not kidding when I said that a few videos ago. Last Friday, I was offered 3 different jobs. All of them are sales. And that's not because I'm some amazing candidate. I have this charisma that's so infectious that makes people want to no, it has to do with people take a job like this because they're desperate. They find out they can't make any money, or they're not going to receive the amount of money that they think they should be paid, and they dip. I mean, it's just the fact that, like, these are working 6 days a week is not appealing to a vast majority of people. A lot of us would rather have something more stable than having the amount of money we make determined by if X number of people buy this a day. I just don't understand how if I'm such a bad employee, why the hell are these employers so desperate for someone to work for them? If it's just me that's so, and he even says most people aren't cut out for this or some to that effect. But it's like, okay, well then what is your point? And what are the employers to blame for? Are they at fault when someone says, I don't want to work every single day this week except one day? Are they at fault when someone says, I don't want to work 10, 11, 12-hour shifts and not hit overtime? Like I said, I don't understand what is gained by simping for these companies. Like, I really don't get why these random faceless guys who, like this with this one, never proved that he sold a goddamn thing, feel like they have to throw themselves in the way, in the line of fire, for an employer that's not going to do anything for them. That those last 2 sales jobs I had are not going to send this guy a check. They're not going to go, oh, good job for defending us. Let me sell you some money. Let me hire you, give you a position. What is the benefit of tearing someone you've never met down for the sake of defending one of these goofy companies, which, like I said, if they were so good and great, they wouldn't be so desperate for someone to work for them, including yours truly.